Today I'm joined by Sam Willoughby. Sam is BMX Supercross Rider, silver medalist at the London Olympics,
Yep.
and nominated by Mariana Pajon, who was previously here in an interview with me. Sam was Junior World Champion 2008.
Yep, 2008.
And Senior World Champion 12 and 14.
Yeah, I won Junior in 2008 and 9, and then Senior in
8 and 9.
12
Okay.
and 14, yeah.
After the Olympics in 2016, Sam has suffered a severe injury,
Yeah.
and we're going to talk about a little bit
Yeah.
about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, having talked to my guys, your positive outlook of things
Yeah.
has made you gain even more respect
Yeah.
than before.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it.
All right, let's go.
What was your darkest moment, Sam?
Darkest moment was probably flying in a helicopter from the BMX track in Chula Vista on September 10th, 2016. I had a cervical spinal cord injury. I broke my neck at C567 and crushed my spinal cord at C6. So I was considered a quadriplegic, paralyzed basically from the neck down at that point. And I think, being wheeled out of the helicopter and no one around, one of my good friends couldn't come in the helicopter because he wasn't family. Elise was away at the time, my parents obviously in Australia, and that was just a lonely, scary, dark moment.
Yeah. To date, how did you recover from that moment?
Just a lot of great people in my corner, and spinal cord injury, it comes with a lot of negativity in the medical field, just in that no one really understands the spinal cord and how it recovers and how it rebuilds. They're starting to a little bit more, but it was basically, the first thing the doctor said to my mum and my dad and Elise when they got there was, what you see is what you're going to get. Like, that's Sam for the rest of his life. And I think that they shielded me from a lot of that, so I didn't hear a lot of that. And they were just so positive and upbeat and just helped me push forward. And it was just, what's the next step to try to make Sam better? And that's what we did and continue to do to this day with, my loved ones around me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Importance of a great supporting.
Yeah, it's everything.
I would like to expand on dark moments before we
Yeah.
move into something a bit more
Yep.
pleasant. Looking back at the Rio Olympics,
Yep.
it should have been your day. And then in the final,
yeah.
something happened. I mean, for those who don't know, BMX Supercross, you have 3 quarterfinals, 3 semifinals. So
Yeah.
in case something happens, you can always, as better riders like Sam, you always manage to come through. In the final, you only have one shot.
Yeah. Yeah, prior to the injury, that was my darkest moment, I think. I won everything all weekend and was in the best form of my life, I think, and it was all coming together and I got a good start in the final and just made a mistake on the first jump and that was that. I came up a little bit short, and BMX is a very cutthroat sport, and one little mistake, a little stumble, and it's very hard to recover. And you never throw things away, I don't believe, because it's not yours till it's yours, but that was the one that got away for sure. Yeah.
What does that mean? You never throw things away? I'm not so familiar with the English language.
Well, I guess I can't say I threw the Olympics away because I didn't have a gold medal. I wasn't. Yeah, I was the fastest guy all day, but you had to win that race to win the medal. So, it's one of those things. You don't have it till you have it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also not what I wanted to say. I mean, I just looking at that tournament, I could see you dominating.
Yeah.
And then in the final.
Yeah, and it just, for what I'm doing now, coaching, it's a great experience to have under my belt, and it's the preparation, the lead up. I did a lot of it by myself, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of the physical shape I went in with, and I stumbled at the last hurdle, but it's still learnt a lot, and I wouldn't do one thing different if I could go there again. Just probably pick up my back wheel on the first jump.
Okay. What was your best moment?
Getting married to Elise in New Year's Eve of 2017. Just from 12 months prior being at the low of all lows and laying in a hospital bed motionless, and fear of being a vegetable the rest of my life, and fear of being everything that I loved and cherished in my life being taken away. And she stood by my side from day one and said, nothing's going to change, you're still Sam. And I vowed to her that I'll walk down the aisle, and we did it together, and that's best day of my life. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. If you could travel back in time 10, 15 years, what advice would you give your younger you?
Probably smell the roses a little more, just lap things up a little more and enjoy the moment a little more. I was very driven as a youngster, and I probably didn't stop and appreciate the ride I was on and appreciate the success I was having. It was kind of just one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. So I probably would have just taken a back seat sometimes and smelt the roses a little bit.
What are the habits that make you a successful person?
I think from day one I've had an obsession and understanding of the process of things, and I get as much satisfaction out of achieving a process goal as I do as achieving an outcome. Like, I was very internally driven and still am today, and whether if it was a sprint time or a gate start time, a full lap time, or something in the gym, I think I got that from my mom a lot. She's a very step-by-step person, and not too anxious or anything, and appreciates every little journey along the way, and I think I got really good at that as I got older and understood what it took to win and understood how it worked, and it was never I never looked too far ahead. I was always as far as training is concerned, I was always sort of pretty in the moment and one step to the next.
Out of curiosity, it's not really a habit, but listening to the guys I'm training, it seems that you have the ability to accelerate out of the third straight when it comes into the corner.
Yeah.
Is that something that is natural talent, or is it something you trained for? I mean, they really say you do that exceptionally well. No one else can do that.
Yeah. I'd say it's the same thing as what I was just saying. I put a lot of emphasis on breaking the track step by step, down step by step, and I was very analytical of everything I did in training, and everything was timed and documented and looked at, and I tried to make gains where I seen faults, and that was one of them. I was bad at cornering for many years, and that was something that I worked on, and I think that BMXers can get it's an old school mentality to the race is won at the first corner, or the right race is won at the bottom of the hill, and it's kind of and it is a big part of it, but it's a meathead old school mentality, and for me it was you race to the finish line, and it's just as hard to accelerate a rolling bike with good power as it is a standing start, so I had a bit of track cycling background. I did a little bit of training there when I was younger, so I understood, I always ran bigger gears and that kind of thing. I understood that it was, as the lap went on, if I can get strong enough to start this thing, it's, they're not going to catch me. So that was, I put emphasis on the whole race. I wasn't too narrow-minded or obsessed with any part of it.
Yeah, one more thing. I read you did Aussie rules football as a younger you.
Yep.
Again, out of curiosity, which sport is harder? Aussie rules football, which is considered to be very, very hard, and then obviously BMX is also very hard.
Yeah. Physically, Aussie rules football. Mentally, BMX, I think. BMX is very individual and very cutthroat, like I said earlier. Football is, those guys are probably some of the fittest athletes in the world and the strongest. The amount of distance they cover in a game and the hits that they're getting constantly, and they're phenomenal athletes. So definitely that's physically, I think, a harder sport. Yeah.
And what makes BMX harder mentally?
Just the fact that it's won or lost in between 2 and 30 seconds, and you don't get any second chances. And football's played over 2 hours, and you lose the ball, you get the ball back, you lose it again, you get it back, you have another go. you get to break and talk about it and all that kind of stuff. Whereas BMX, it's, like at the Olympics, you can do everything right for 3/4 of the day and show up in the last 30 seconds, and one little mistake and your day's over. Whereas, football, you generally, one little mistake, there's the game's on 22 players' shoulders. BMX, it's the game's on your shoulders. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a morning routine? How do you get ready for the day?
Yeah, I get up generally around 6:30 most days. I go down, I'm obsessed with coffee, so I make coffee on my machine and generally mess a few up and get really angry and then try to make a perfect one. And then I'll have breakfast. I've always loved breakfast. I eat a big breakfast. And now, since my injury, I have like a standing frame, so I stand for an hour every morning to stretch my hips out, and good for bone density and that kind of thing. So I just stand and watch the news or talk to Elise. Okay. And then I'm generally starting my therapy around 9, and sometimes later, either at 9 I start therapy or I go to training with Elise and the guys.
One thing you, Jelle, and myself have in common, the passion for coffee.
Yep, yeah, very good. Yeah.
How do you prepare yourself for important moments in competition? Or in general?
Yeah, I think just processes. I break down what I feel it takes for me to be successful, and physically, mentally, technically, tactically, and I put a lot of thought into those things, and I try to tick them off, and I go down to pretty minute details, and right up to at the Olympic Games, it was listening to Sirius XM radio in the bus to the race, because just to make it normal, and it was about calming the mood and being mellow and keeping that same routine that I did every day when I drove to the track. It was never, for me, I didn't need to pump up, like I was ready to go. For me, it was more about staying in the moment, and so there was races where I had a podcast on at times, just to switch my mind off, and I found little cues along the way through my career and triggers that I found worked for me to switch my mind off, whether it was looking off into the distance, putting a podcast on. This big one for me was getting off on my bike, losing body contact with my bike. If I was getting antsy or something before a race, just put my bike over on the wall over there and sit on a bench, and just that disconnect and then reset of grabbing the bike again and all right, reset and let's go again.
What podcasts are you listening to?
Oh, many. Joe Rogan. What else? Is it I'm a big NASCAR fan, so I listen to NASCAR radio. A few strength and conditioning ones, but not at the race. And then what was I listening to? Howard Stern on Sirius XM. I was listening to that at the Olympics, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you overcome setbacks if things don't go your way? We kind of touched on it. But...
Yeah. I think it's just it's the same once you understand. For me, you probably hear me say the word a lot, but process, and it's just when a situation arises, it's figure out the detail and the process to rectify that situation. So when it was my injury, the first step was being able to feed myself, and as crazy as it sounds, and then that meant getting more grip strength, more dexterity. Like I remember the doctor in the hospital was like, can you do this? Can you touch your thumb to your little finger? And it took me weeks to be able to do that, months. I mean, in this hand it took months, and just doing the steps. Yeah. And I think that the thing that I just love about breaking things down like that is it keeps you constantly achieving and we all love to win. So it's like if I can hit a process every day and I'm winning all the time, then that's building confidence, and that's momentum, and momentum's a pretty hard thing to stop. Yeah.
So the example you just said with touching the fingers, right?
Yeah.
And it took you months. So I can imagine that is frustrating, a fairly simple thing you can't achieve. How did you stay focused and positive?
It was tough. I mean, it was that's what was my situation. That the spinal cord injury is tough for anyone, but I went from trying to win the Olympic Games 3 weeks later to trying to brush my teeth, trying to touch my thumb to my little finger. And I think I'm lucky that in a crazy way, I enjoy trying to fix things, and I enjoy trying to achieve the steps along the way. So it took my mind. I was okay with. I never got caught up in, well, this, you know, this sucks. You know, I don't deserve this. You know, I was, you know, trying to win the Olympics and win 3 weeks ago, and now I'm trying to brush my teeth. Like I never got caught up in that. It was just next step, next thing, and just tick the boxes as we went. And a big part of that is the people I had around me. You know, Elise and my mom and my dad and my brother, and those people they shielded me from negativity, and they were there to encourage me when I had those little wins. So it was just, and I'm fortunate to have that. I think without that, it would be impossible. Yeah.
Okay. Who's your role model and why?
It's changed a lot over the years. I would say Elise has become a big role model for me. Just the way she's stuck by me, and just the way she goes about her day-to-day training, and the mature head she has on her shoulder when she competes, and just an amazing person. I'm very lucky to be married to. And but I'd say in my sporting career, I don't know. It's a tough one. I was a big Chris Hoy fan, so I seen similarities in how Chris approached his sport and how I did. So I'd say Chris was a big hero of mine. Yeah.
Okay. What's the best advice you've received, and who gave it to you?
I would say Wade told me back in the day there's more than one way to skin a cat, and I think he got that from Grant White, and I would say that's a pretty good one. And probably one of my favorite ones was Sean Dwight. When I was training with him, we got to training late one day, and I wanted to get on the gate with some other guys to train with, but we were there late and they were already doing gates. And he told me, if you get to the bar late, you better get drunk quick.
Okay. How does a typical training day look like for you?
For me, or for the athletes that I work with?
When you were competing?
When I was competing?
And maybe if it changes now as a coach?
Yeah. Every day was different, but generally a typical day would be we'd do something on the bike first, always. Whether that be sprints, gates, some sort of track efforts. And then we'll generally finish the day with some form of strength work, or whether it be sprinting, or generally we sprint and do the gym sort of together. So yeah, that would be a typical day. Specific stuff first, and then so strengthening and conditioning, I would say, second in the day. But typically 9 to 12 in the morning is a pretty big session, and then we'll generally go again between sort of 3 and 6, 3 and 7, depending on what it is. Yeah.
Do you want to nominate someone to be interviewed?
Nominate? I don't know his name, but I think you should interview the Russian coach. The
Russian
BMX
coach?
Russian coach.
Okay.
I'm impressed with what he's done with his group of riders. They had 3 girls in the final yesterday, and from where they were years ago to now, that's pretty cool. So
okay, good. Yeah. Where can people find you?
People can find me at the Chula Vista Training Center. I'm not really on social. I'm on Twitter, SW91. So you can find me there. My Instagram got hacked, so I'm not on that anymore, and Facebook as well. So, yeah.
Okay.
If you want to email me, sam_willoughby@hotmail.com.
Okay, cool. What about the Coffee Willoughby?
My coffee or the show?
The show?
We haven't really done the show this year.
Okay.
But I was doing it with my friend Tyler, and he's got a lot of other jobs, and then I have a lot of other responsibilities now with the coaching and with my own therapy and that kind of stuff. So it just got hard to fit it all in. But yeah, we might do it again at some point. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thanks for
Pleasure.
your time.
Yeah.
Thanks for the open words.
Yep.
It was really cool.
Of course.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.